But my mom, she bent over and she kissed him on the mouth, and he came back.
Mm.
And he said, the death angel is here. So we came in and he spoke to each of us individually, and things like my father particularly has stomach cancer. So that I remember finding out, well, how does that affect him? I knew that it meant that he was sick in a more serious way than if he had a cold. I remember understanding the distinction with that.
Dang.
But when I asked questions, because I was super inquisitive, I asked the uncomfortable questions. I was the motivating reason why it became a topic, like where they sat us down, because I was the most inquisitive. Both my brothers was more like they dealt with his grief differently, while they would, they would
They didn't really
interact
want
with.
to talk about it.
They didn't want to talk about it. I'm sitting at the bed. He getting up, going to the bathroom. I'm sitting. I'm at the floor. I'm in the bathroom, sitting on the tub while he right there, because I'm just like, okay, he's gonna die any day. I don't know exactly what moment that's gonna be.
And you were aware that he was about to die.
He told us. So that's
Dang,
yeah. So
told
like
y'all?
yeah, and that's my mama wasn't. She was reticent about it at first because she just saw that was going to have an emotional impact that she didn't feel we were prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess to her credit, it happened that way because our declination academically in school happened at that point.
Did you worry?
Yeah. Especially, I remember the worry. I remember sitting in class, looking at the time, eager to get home, hoping because he said he didn't want to die in the hospital. He said he wanted to be home.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that conversation, and I just wanted to be right there. I didn't want to go away from him. Family members like, hey, tell my mama, like, look, girl, you're doing a lot. Let me take the boys off your hands for a few days so you can just have some time. I'll cook for, don't worry about nothing. And I was like, I don't want to go. Josh and Chris went, but I didn't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm like, that might be the weekend.
Yeah.
I So, but, I mean, it's kind of piggyback off the talking about, the stomach.
Yeah.
I remember when he didn't eat his first meal. So he had the surgery, but it had already metastasized. So it had spread through his body, but his stomach was really damaged by it. So I remember him being, this attachment to his stomach, this nourishment in the form of Ensure. I remember the smell of that. I remember what it, the color of it, and I remember my mama pouring it in his bag so it could feed him. And I remember him saying, I've been like encouraging him to eat, and he said, "I can't, baby." And I like, you can't eat? Why? And so he tells me he's sick and that the sickness is in his stomach. He said, but I'm getting nourishment. That's what this is. But then I remember hearing him say, oh, I sure wish I could have some of that.
Yeah. How old were you?
My mom was a cook. I was 8. So my mama would cook, and then, and so I just remember the kind of way she didn't want to like eat in front of him. Like how these certain things just
felt
changed.
bad for
Yeah.
because she knew he couldn't. She loved him that much.
Yeah, I think one time he had a little something. I'm gonna ask her about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't good for him. It was real bad. So that's when I think that impacted my curiosity about how the body works too.
I think that did too.
Yeah.
Hey. So how did he ultimately pass? Well, do you remember like the day?
Yeah. It was February 7th. 7 p.m. is when he passed. And his birthday is on the 7th of September. Some people would draw connections there that, I think are curious, but interesting to entertain. But
so he died when?
On February 7th.
February 7th. His birthday is September 7th.
Yeah, 7 p.m. I remember he was laying in the bed, and I was actually right outside his room. So that distance is actually from here to that wall, but just separated by the wall.
Okay.
And we have some family members that have been staying with us extended period of time, helping my mama with it. And you can just tell that he was in the last days. There's a certain look. If you've seen, I've seen this look in the eyes of about a good 10 people and death looks the same in all eyes. I don't care what color or whatever. There's a
That
certain.
has a look.
It does. There's a certain grayness to the eye. There's when you think of something that has color and fading, the eyes have a certain type of haze over them that look like there's something missing that brings
they're
vibrance.
breaking away.
There's
It's a human
there's a
shell.
pulling away. And so he had got to that point, and so that they were there, and I just remember a family member coming to get me from the table and said, "Your daddy want to see you." And my daddy had just told him, "Bring my babies into the room. The death angel is here."
Bring my babies into the room.
The death angel. That's exactly what he said.
He saw it.
And
he felt it.
So we came in. He actually spoke with me and my two brothers individually. A message slightly different for each of us, but the tone and tenor was, "I love you. Listen to your mother. I'm not leaving you because I don't love you, but I'm going to be with God. Be obedient." And then, he talked to my mother, called it his chocolate star. That's what he called it. I had to say this part because I think this is the most surreal aspect of it. Was he actually died before what I just described.
What do you mean?
So he had a hospice nurse there.
Right.
And I think he was sitting on maybe like he had a portable toilet in the room. And he had laid down. He was laid down, and he just wasn't moving. He wasn't breathing, and the hospice nurse pronounced him dead. So he was dead for a few minutes.
Then he came back. He's like, "I need to talk to my babies first."
Now my mom, she just stood there, and my mama is the type of person, got certain people that when they, they are in the presence of a body, they don't touch it. They feel a little. My mom was like that. She's just like, death is just not a dead body. She wouldn't touch a person. I know people that have kissed people and everything in a casket. I've touched people, but I've never kissed a person. But my mom, she bent over and she kissed him on the mouth, and he came back. And it just, of course, was to the astoundment of everybody. That's what he said when I mentioned that. He said, "Call my babies into the room. For my boys or my babies." He said one of those. And he said, "The death angel is here." So we came in, and he spoke to each of us individually. And then he talked to my mama, and he talked to his first cousin in the room and another cousin, and just thanked her for being helpful. And he took his last breath, and he was gone. And I remember walking up to him. I understood what death meant.
Yeah.
But him being dead just didn't seem possible to me at that time. And I knew, so remember I told you that he had, I don't know if I tell people this, but I think I have, but like probably one person or something. But he had a tube attached to his stomach. And I remember that was a spot that was sore. So if you press on, like even when my mother would clean it, she was delicate with the way she cleaned right there because it hurt him. And I remember walking up to him, and I remember tugging on it a little bit
to see if
he jerked and said, Nothing. I knew then and accepted that I would never see him the same. I would never see him again. Damn. I had that pain. Literally, it's like we have these receptors all over the body. We have the nerve receptors, and so from the input of touch, that's why if you touch the top of my bald head, I'll feel it, and if you do this to the bottom of my foot, I'll feel it. I felt pain everywhere there was skin.
Hey, for how long? How long till it became? Because eventually you had to just. It was
time helps. Time. I could tell anybody but it didn't stop with him. I had a lot of death in my family, so I felt that multiple times.